Hello and welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter. I teach you how to start flipping and wholesaling houses in New York, or if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. And we're talking today about how much is the real estate commission in New York. When you sell a house, when you buy a house, who pays it, how does it work? So we're going to talk a little bit about how this works. I'm in an airport now. I'm trying to find a place where I don't have to wear a mask. I'm like in a corner. I hope nobody kicks me out. But here's the situation. Real estate commission is negotiated, and it varies in different parts of the country. So in my area in Long Island, where house prices are pretty high, $5, $6, $7, $800,000, I would say typically it's between 4 and 5%. You can negotiate this with your listing agent. So that is how much the listing agent, which who takes the listing, is going to get paid. So let me just explain how this works. I'm selling a house and I'm planning to sell it for $500,000. The listing agent is going to take 4 or 5, let's say 5%. So that means $25,000 is going to come off of my sale. And what's going to happen is if the person buying is represented by an agent, then the listing agent is going to split half their commission with the buyer's agent. So they'll each make 2.5, that kind of thing, or maybe one will make 3 and one will make 2. But that is typical in the area. So I'm going to tell you a couple things, if you stick to the end, about different options on how to sell a house, different ways to talk to an agent to pay them, and some alternatives. So basically, when you sell a house in New York or any state, there really are 3 ways, right? One is the bad way. The bad way is to sell it yourself, put it on FSBO, for sale by owner, list it on Zillow yourself, and to think that you're going to get your price. Now, here's the problem with that. A very, very limited amount of people are going to see it. And even if you think your house is worth $400,000 and you find somebody who's going to pay you $400,000, guess what? You may have missed a lot of equity in the house, because what happens a lot today, especially, is that people are willing to pay more, or you really have no idea how much the house should sell for. So if you're only showing it to a very, very limited amount of people, you may sell it for what you think, and that might be a lot less than what you could have got. The other 2 ways are to sell it with an agent, as we discussed, to list it with a realtor, and then it's going to go out on multiple listing service MLS, and that's going to show the most people the property. This is a situation where you have time, right? Because most sales today or anytime are going to take a minimum of 3 months, right? It's going to take at least a week or 2 at best to find a buyer. It's going to take a week or 2 to get into contract, and it's going to take most buyers who are getting a mortgage a couple of months. Guess what? It could take much longer, right? It could take longer to get a mortgage, and you may not be ready to move. This is a transaction that happens between a buyer and a seller, but if you got to think 3 to 4 months really from when you list it to when you're going to close. So if your house is in good condition and you have the time to wait, and you want to squeeze the most money out of it, that is the best option for sure. List your house. The second option is to sell to an investor. So I am a real estate investor. I'm also a realtor. We'll talk about me being a realtor shortly. But you could sell it to an investor for less money, right? Understand the investor is always going to give you less money than what you can get. Now, the reasons why you sell to an investor are for the certainty and convenience that an investor provides. So, first of all, if the house is in terrible condition and can't be financed, right, then selling it with a regular realtor may not be an option, right? Because if most people can't get a mortgage for it, for whatever reason, then selling with a realtor is a mistake. But let's just say you want to know it's going to get sold. So here's a little secret that a lot of people don't tell you. The standard commission, the standard contract when you sell a house has something called a mortgage contingency, which allows the buyer to basically, it's basically a get out of contract free card that he can use anytime. I was in the mortgage business for 17 years, and I can tell you on dozens of occasions people call me and say, I changed my mind, just give me a denial for the mortgage. It's not hard to do, it's simple. You just write that a document expired, and as soon as you get a mortgage denial as a buyer, you can show that to the seller's attorney, and basically you can get out of contract, get your deposit back. And there's been a lot of situations, it's happened to me because I sell a lot of properties also, where that's happened to, maybe after months, people dragging along and along. That can happen. So when you sell to an investor, there is no mortgage contingency, and the investor should have no outs in this contract. I don't have any outs when I go buy a property. I have to close, unless there's a title problem. But if there's a title problem, you couldn't sell to anybody anyway. But it's very rare. Almost never happens. So the truth is that you sell to an investor for certainty and convenience. So certainty of knowing that he's going to close at the price that he told you, I tell you, and the convenience of not having to show the property to 100 people, the convenience of not having to clean up the property, the convenience of leaving whatever you want there. Very often just cleaning out a property, furniture and heavy duty things is a big deal. So those are the kinds of certainty and convenience that you get when you sell to an investor, but understand you're going to take less money for that property. It's a very simple transaction. I compare very often to going to Starbucks, right? We go to Starbucks and we pay $6 for a cup of coffee that the ingredients probably cost 30 cents. We do that for the certainty and convenience. We know it's going to be there. We know they're going to make it for us quick. It's the convenience of not having to buy a milk frothing machine, not having to buy the flavors, not having to buy the cups, and not having to deal with all the crap that Starbucks is giving it to. Even though the markup is insane, we pay for it for the certainty and convenience that it provides us. And that's how every transaction really takes place in a capitalist, democratic, free society. You pay for the certainty and convenience that you get, and someone makes money on it. And in the same situation, when you sell to an investor, you're taking less money for your house for the certainty and convenience that an investor provides. So those are really the two main options. You can list it, and you can sell it to an investor. Now, I never intended to become a real estate broker, but I was selling a lot of my own houses, and I wanted to be in control of that transaction. So I became a realtor. So at this point, when I take a listing, I'm usually the least expensive person out there. I'm certainly less than 4%, and usually less than 4%, depends on the situation, but sometimes as low as 2%. Really depends on what's going on. So I'm the least expensive realtor that exists if you want to list with me. I'm also the quickest. I'll take a 90-day listing, and I'm usually the best because I know how to sell my own properties for the most money. Your property gets listed alongside my property, and we sell those for the most amount of money, just like yours will get sold for the most amount of money. And I'll pay for things like Facebook advertising to drive people to the property, and I will pay for professional photography if it's necessary. Most other realtors are never going to do that. They'll ask you maybe to pay for it, but they're not going to pay for it themselves. So that is another issue. If you're interested in listing a property in Long Island or New York City, I'm happy to talk to you about it. But in general, it's important to understand that you do not need to list the property if you think that there's some reason why you wouldn't want to, and you do not need to sell to an investor if you're looking for the most money. People call me all the time and say, I want you to buy the property, and this is what it's worth. I know that is what it's worth, but not to an investor. An investor cannot buy a property at full retail price and make money. It just doesn't work that way. And for obvious reasons, right? It costs a lot of money to close on a property. People don't understand. Very often when I buy a property, the day I close, I'm out $50,000 immediately for closing costs on the buy, eventual closing costs when I sell it, and the holding costs when I'm holding it, right? I have to pay taxes, I have to pay maintenance, I have to pay utilities. There's sometimes I borrow money and I have to pay interest on it. So, if you tell me, people call me and say my house is worth $500,000, I want you to buy it for $480,000, it just doesn't work. I got to get a deeper discount than that to make any money on it, or else I'm going to lose money on it. So that is how real estate commissions work in general. I mean, we got off on a tangent a little bit, but real estate commissions are negotiated. So if a realtor comes to you and says, "Hey, my commission is 6%," you should say to them, what you should do really is look in. So most people don't have access to multiple listing service, but I would say, can you do it better? Very often they'll come down just when you ask that. I would not pay more than 4% to anybody, and I don't think you have to. If a person says, "Oh, my broker doesn't allow me to," say, "I think I'm going to find somebody whose broker does allow them to charge less." That is the truth. And the idea that there definitely are realtors that are better than other realtors, but the idea that they're going to charge you more doesn't make a lot of sense. Remember, you're paying them to basically just put the property out and to hold a bunch of open houses. They're not going out and cherry picking the buyers for you. They're just allowing your property to be seen by as many people as possible. That's really what they're doing, and it is absolutely negotiable, and you should negotiate it. Also, I would not take a long listing in today's market. I would not take a listing for a year. If somebody says they want to list it for a year, say absolutely not. I wouldn't take a listing longer than 3 months, 4 months max, because if they can't get you under contract in today's market in less than 3 or 4 months, then something's wrong. So I would not take a listing for more than 4 months. All my listings are 3 months that I take. So all those things are negotiated. If somebody tells you I can't, my broker, just say, I'll leave the paperwork here, I'll look at it, and you can call me, I'll tell you if they're doing something right or wrong. But that's the situation for real estate commissions in New York. It's negotiated, it depends on your area. I'm sure parts of upstate New York where the prices are much less, its standard is 6%. But in areas like Long Island where the prices are much higher, 4%, 4 to 5% is pretty standard. I hope this was helpful. I hope I explained these things. If you're interested in finding out how I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you are interested in coaching, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. Please like these videos, whether it is on Facebook or YouTube, but the likes really help me. And if you have any comments or any questions about anything I said or any topics you want me to cover, please feel free to put in a comment, and I get to all my comments and eventually reply. Thank you very, very much for watching.